I just can't take no pleasure in killing. Just some things you gotta do. Don't mean you have to like.
I like to dissect girls. Did you know I'm utterly insane?
You want to know what happens to an eyeball when it gets punctured? You got any idea how much blood jets out of a guy's neck when his throat's been slit?
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
DJ Nubis here with you on the Metal Talk Radio podcast with my co-host, Mr. Tony the Dead, and we are the Ghouls of Midnight with a very special guest, Kevin Lambert from the Entertainment Headquarters. Thank you, sir, for joining us today.
No, thank you for having me. And can I just say that was one cool fucking intro?
Yes, I always love it when Tony starts rocking out. I know.
I have a feeling you're watching me when I'm doing that.
Oh, I am. I'm just rocking with you. So, what if you're not familiar with this show? This is very much kind of like the cinematic synergy that I do with this gentleman down here. Every week, Mr. Tony and I will alternate picks of a movie that we have not seen or maybe seen, and then we will watch it and give our review of it. This time around, it was his pick, and he chose The Death Artist, which is a remake of A Bucket of Blood from 1959, I believe is the original year.
Yep.
And this one came out in 1995 and stars Anthony Michael Hall, Justine Bateman. We have Shadow Stevens, Sam Lloyd, and a whole bunch of other people. Even Will Ferrell makes an entrance in here, which I didn't catch, so I thought that was kind of interesting. The plot is it revolves around a socially awkward busboy named Walter who works at the Jabberjaw. It's an alternative coffee house for pretentious pricks who want to talk performance art, poetry, and live music. And while he's there, he ends up trying to be this upcoming artist that is going to do some things that makes him stand out and become famous, but for all the wrong reasons. Mm-hmm. So we'll start with Tony. Just what was it about this film that made you want to do a review for it?
Well, the original movie that they remake, this is the remake of, is A Bucket of Blood, and that's like with Dick Miller and like a whole bunch of people. I don't know their names, but like it's like one of my favorite movies. But like I always say, I'm bad with names. But I never saw The Death Artist, and I've had the VHS for a while, and I'm like, this is a good time to finally watch the movie. And so that's the reason I wanted to watch this too. Like, plus I wanted to see obviously what you would think. Mm-hmm. And I was really nervous going into what it was going to be like, because some remakes are, well,
So, Beef, when you recommended this, had you seen it at that point or no?
No, this is like a true. We both haven't seen it.
Okay.
I haven't even heard of it, and I haven't even seen the original. I did look into it. I do know it's based on a novel as well. This of the same name, A Bucket of Blood. But obviously, I don't know why they kept the same name for the remake.
If you look up Bucket of Blood, I think it comes up this as well. Like at certain places, it's weird.
I think in some cases, whenever they do these remakes, I think part of the name change was to not scare viewers away. Like they were trying to actually sell it to people. So like The Death Artist is a little more easy going on people. You would think A Bucket of Blood means like you're just going to have like a gore effect of all so much, gore and blood and stuff. So I think in this case, it was like, okay, let's change the name to try to get more people to try to view this in some way that's easier for audiences to digest.
So can I ask a question? The original one, which was called A Bucket of Blood, was that a theatrical release as well? Because I know this one, the remake, is a made-for-television movie.
I want to say that it was one of those films that was probably very much like a drive-in type of thing, even though it was a little bit earlier before drive-in really became the big deal. But I do think that it was sort of I do think it did have a theatrical release. Now, the interesting thing is, and I didn't know this either, that Roger Corman actually directed the first one. So that makes a lot of sense, and Corman is always about just standing out and making a noise for the sake of noise.
As soon as I had seen his name connected to the film, when I read up a little bit about it, it made total sense.
Yeah.
Why this film is the way it is, because it is like, it's horror, but it's horror comedy. It's like that slapstick horror comedy that I kind of like, but it's also, we did a review on the Cinematic Synergy of another film that became, in a lot of ways, a classic and was one of the most viewed of the reviews we've done, The Cemetery Man. It kind of gives me vibes of The Cemetery Man in terms of its cinematography and its humor.
Dark satire,
yeah. I guess a little bit. I could see where you're going with that, yeah. I don't think, I there's funny moments, but I don't think it's like funny. You know what I mean? Like there's like where he's like drunk and stuff, you're supposed to kind of like laugh at it, or some like the way they you got to think, because the original, the way they were back then, they made it. This is how they were, the
Mhm.
beatniks and all that crap, and
Yeah.
it's like it wasn't funny to them, but to us, it's like look at how they were, but like
Well, I think there's still a part of society that's like this. Like
oh
there's still
yeah,
coffee
Oh
houses
yeah.
that kind of act in this way. So
100%.
they are the people that enjoy art and they are very critique. They'll sit there and
Yeah.
be critical.
The biggest time you see it is at fashion shows.
Yeah,
So you will
Oh.
see somebody on the catwalk walking down with a fucking balloon in their head,
Yeah,
and in a pair of plastic cups covering their testicles, and they can see the people with straight faces with glasses on like that, and they're looking and they're like critiquing this is art. But us, we look at a man with a balloon on his head and some paper cups covering his testicles, and we're like, what the fuck is going on with this person?
yeah. Some
How
of
is
it
this
is
fashion?
crazy.
But that still goes on to this day, but that's just their lifestyle.
I don't get that though. Like, what's the point of doing that if like you're never gonna see anybody wearing that shit?
Yeah.
Why even? It's just I don't think you're clever. I think it's I don't know.
pretentious.
Yeah,
Pretentious and attention seeking.
I think that's a big extreme to these people though. Like those are just snobs that would never talk to us. While if we drew a picture that was like halfway good, they'd still come over to talk shit because they're jealous.
That's what kind of makes this film kind of funny because it kind and this I suppose this is where the comedy comes in a little bit is that they're so eclectic and so starved for like what they would consider art that they would accept anything. And in this case, Walter's presenting it with Dead Cat, and they are fucking fawning over it like it's ridiculous. And I'm looking at it going, "This is a piece of shit. I don't care what's inside it. It's a piece of shit."
Yeah, I forgot to tell you about that, but like, it's fake looking.
Well, I had actually watched
the
original like a couple weeks before.
In its back. That's what it is. It looks like a paper mache cat that a 5-year-old put together with a real knife stuck in its back.
The original.
You would think they had found, you would think they'd found like Noah's Ark or something. The way they react to it.
You got to remember this too. They're very high on caffeine and other things. So
yeah,
everything's like, oh, look at that. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing about both movies are very close. There's a couple of undercover cops that are inside the cafe that are looking for drug dealers, passing around heroin and stuff. So they infiltrate this cafe and everything. And of course, Walter, who is socially awkward, but he's bussing for the studio and he gets yelled at a lot by his boss. But he has like, the hots for Carla, played by Justine Bateman, who, if you never saw Family Ties with Michael J. Fox back in the day, that's a great show that I used to watch. But she plays Carla in this, and so she's like this high profile art critic or whatever, and she knows what great art is. And so Walter tries everything because she's always nice to Walter, and a lot of people just don't like him. They treat him like ass.
She's like the Jam Jar Cafe's host as well. She's like the hostess of the actual the bar or the coffee shop.
And you got Maxwell, played by Stevens, who's like this. I don't know what they call these guys. They do monologues, but like it's not really poetry, but it's supposedly treated like poetry in some ways. But he's like the big deal in the cafe at the moment. And then of course I forget the other girl. I think it's Maiolia or something.
Oh
Manolia, yeah.
She's a really weird name.
Yeah,
she like does these pieces, doesn't she? These playwright pieces, like conformative like pieces.
Very feminist position and all this stuff. So.
She's also obviously never had sex in a long, long time.
I was thinking like, are they saying the name right? Because in the original it's Naolia. And this one, it's Maiolia.
Maiolia, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, are they saying that right? And it's like, so I was remembering it right, at least. That Naolia, it's close. They did a little tweaks in this.
They did. They did change it a little bit.
And then obviously you've got the lady that shows up later as well. Is it Alice
Yeah,
Yes.
Alice.
in
That's
the red
Darcy
dress?
DeMoss.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that this movie that they did, which, you know, being it's a remake, they pretty much kept very close to the original. Even what they say, it's almost as if it's a play and you're watching it in a way, you know. And they did a little tweaks, you know, because it is the 90s, and if and I'm sure most people watching this were alive then and remember it. I don't think our audience is that young, but like the coffee shops in the 90s were like incredibly popular. I mean, look at the show Friends. Their one spot in the whole was always at the
Well,
coffee shop. So, and I've
um,
played so many open mic nights in a coffee shop, and I'll admit I love coffee shops like that. Like a, what do they call it? It's not coffee shop, a
Cafe.
cafe.
Comedy cafes and stuff
Yeah,
like that. Well, you would
it's so
love where I
comfortable in
live.
those places.
Yeah, you would love where I live because we've in Newcastle in England where I'm from, we have a comedy cafe. We also have like you get a lot of coffee shops in the UK that do like open mic nights and stuff like they still do that, and there's like a comedy like little theatre where independent, you know, comedians if they want to try and try the material on an audience they can, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Well, we got a couple of cafes out our way that actually they're called the Cat Cafe, and they have just random cats that walk in and hang out, and
Oh,
people can pet them and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, we've got one here in Newcastle called Mog on the Tyne. So Moggy Cats, because obviously the River Tyne is basically the main river that runs through where I am from. So
Yeah.
it's called Mog on the Tyne. It's right on the quayside, and you have to pay like a fee to get in, and then you sit. But all the cats in there are either rescue cats, but they have pedigree cats. They've got one of them Finks cats without the fur on.
mm.
It
Yeah.
looks like Pinky in the Brain. I think the way it looks. Honestly, it's
I just call them like rats or bats because they have no
Naked cat. Yeah.
naked cat. It's my sculpture, naked cat. So anyway, obviously Walter is trying to get pointers from Maxwell while he's cleaning up tables and stuff, and Maxwell really doesn't give him much mind, but he's not really being a total dick either. He's just kind of like, whatever, you're just some busboy. The boss comes to harass him again. So finally, Walter goes home. He has a neighbor, a woman who is asking about a cat that she owns, and has he seen her? And he's like, no, I haven't seen it or anything. And she's trying to be really nice to him because she knows he's kind of a loner. He doesn't really date or anything. So wants to make him dinner. He's like, nope, I'm good. I got my beans in my can inside. So he gets inside and he's just sitting there eating dinner, and he starts hearing the cat meow.
Yeah.
So then he realizes that the cat somehow got sealed in with the plaster in the wall and is running around trying to get out of the wall. So in his bright idea, he's like, I'm gonna get you out, don't worry. He's got this big old knife and he starts jabbing out the wall, and he ends up killing the cat
right into it.
Like, oh my god.
That was like as soon as he seen him pick up the knife, like, you dumbass.
Yeah.
I knew straight away what he was gonna do.
Yeah.
Like, he should have had the pot, because that, if you think that plaster that's on the wall, it's still probably fresh. He could have smashed it in with his fist or something.
Which he did right afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't he just do that in the beginning? I know.
He's
but
not
then we
very
wouldn't
smart.
have a sculpture, so.
And that's where he gets the idea, because he's not very good at creating one on his own. So what he does is just basically molds the cat, which is still impaled on his fucking blade.
Yeah. And I like the little thing. So you like, why'd you put a knife in it?
You're right.
I didn't mean to.
Yeah, no one picks up on that, by the way. I mean, the boss does a little bit later, but it's like,
yeah,
he brings the sculpture to the shop the next day, and of course Carla is like mesmerized somehow by this piece of art, and even the owner is kind of like, okay, not bad. Of course, he asks the question, why is the knife in it and all that, but
Yeah.
He goes, "What do you call it?" He's like, "Dead cat." And I'm like, "Oh, so original."
Yeah, right. Edgy. Yeah.
Like,
And he's like, "Go ahead."
like, I have to admit, when he said that, I rolled my eyes. I was like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!"
Oh
Dead
yeah.
cat.
It's like he's
And
saying what it is, basically.
and they're all just sitting there, and they've got like they're like mesmerized, and I just could not stop looking, thinking it's paper mache cat with a fucking kitchen knife stuck in his back. And obviously, from my perspective, I'm looking at the thing like, this is just so stupid. But they're like mesmerized because that's just the world they're in. Anything peculiar or what comes across not normal or strange, it's like what they're into.
Well, those other two guys that are in there in the beginning when they're trying to sell their art to, like, because there's always these rich people that are coming and they want to buy something from local artists and whatever they think they're
What
beatniks
was
and
it
stuff.
called? This is our
They had like
collection of photos called Roadkill, and I'm like,
roadkill,
oh my God.
and it's like,
Just driving around taking photos of dead
by the way,
animals.
we did the driving too.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, and that was I didn't know that was that's not in the
Yeah.
original. Those two guys in the original are more like the Will Ferrell character in this, like a beatnik, and in the original they were the ones dealing the drugs. But you don't really ever see who's dealing it in this. You just see him get some.
Yeah, you don't
But
figure it out, do you?
yeah, but yeah, when he's like before he's doing the dead, he kills the cat. He's like we said, where he's trying to mold the clay in that, because he's telling everybody I'm working on something, and he steals a picture of
Carla. Yeah.
Carla, and he's like trying to make her face in that. It's like not working at all, and like, make a nose. That's another thing that was in the original. He kept going, be a nose, and it's like it's not working. But yeah, they definitely kept a lot of the original in this. I was very happy with that.
Well, like I say, I didn't watch the original. I was going to try and fit it in. I just didn't have time. But
That's what she
I like
said.
well,
Not to you.
Yeah,
we were busy. We were busy trying to concentrate on the Shed that we watched.
Yeah, I was watching a review before this. I reviewed that back in the day. I got it in the review. I remember it being okay, but I wasn't blown away or anything.
What I will say, even though I've not seen the original, I do like where movies tend to try to make remakes or reimaginations as loyal to the original as possible.
Yeah.
So if this tried to do that, but more like with a funny, like a funny twist on it, then I'm happy, because I think that always makes out for a better remake. If they try and keep to I hate where remakes go totally off field and they just totally change things up. Yeah, and
I
kind of get the ending.
But in this case, I'm kind of a little bit the opposite in terms of, like, I don't think they took enough risk. Because it is, even though it does follow the original very closely, like, I just felt like they could at least done a little more originality. They just didn't bother.
I mean, if you think about it, though, this is actually the closest to a real remake that you get. If you think about it, like a lot of them, like you said, like they're revisions,
or the change gender of a character, or the person who
my
dies in the movie.
Is, like, if you look at like the original Evil Dead versus 2013,
that worked out.
That's better than the original for me.
Same here, and that's kind of my point. Is like, you can not butcher it, but you can still kind of take risk, and so I think they just played a little bit too close to the hip. But then again, this is 1995, so who knows what their budget looked like or what they're thinking.
And it was TV. It looks like.
I was going to say, it was made for TV. What I've read, this one, and it's like another thing. It's like if you get a remake and, like, say, say for example, the first Alien did Aliens, and then they tried to flip it up and did a direct remake, and they changed who, like, the first ever face hugger come out of. It wasn't the guy that we're seeing. They change it up. They make it Ripley, and then they make who the star. Like it just wouldn't work. It's
Yeah.
when they do little changes like that just to try and make it different instead of sticking to what made the first great. That's what I don't like.
Hmm.
Well, one
It's
thing
like
that sorry, go on.
no, it's like they've done it in so many different movies, and like, and they've tried to like just totally create a new plot, and it's meant to be a direct remake, and they change like how people die, or they change like, for example, like zombies. Like if you had a zombie movie and you know what created the zombie, they'll do something in a zombie movie when they do a remake, and they'll like say, right, and that's not what created the zombie. They change it to something else, and it's like, why did you mess with it?
Yeah.
But at the same time, people will be like, "Oh, it's just another zombie movie," you know. I mean, I know a lot of people that hate fast zombies. I think they're more scary than slow ones. I mean, because
Oh, yeah.
They are.
you have to run too. You know, like certain things. I think are okay for a change. Like I never saw the Black Christmas movies, but I've heard the remake is terrible. So like,
I liked the 2006 version more than the original, even though the original is still very good. Now I didn't see the last one. The last one I heard really changed. Like it did
oh, they
exactly what
made
you're
another
talking
one.
about. Oh yeah, they redid it. It's more woke now, but they also changed a lot of what the story was, from what I understand. So like, it's not even close to what the original films were.
Yeah, that's one like with this movie too. Like I said, the Beatniks in the beginning, they were as fun a couple as they were. They weren't like the other guys because they were like in the original. He says to him, he like I think Maxwell's talking and talking, doing his thing, and then one Beatnik goes, "What did he say?" He goes, "Weren't you listening?" He goes, "No, man, I'm too far out." And it's like such like a good line. I love it. And like they're so like stoned. Like and I on IMDb too. I know we're all over the place with this. We're just talking, but like I didn't know this, but like Will Ferrell, it was his first film debut, like TV debut.
The young man, he's credited as the
Yeah.
young man.
Yeah, the young man. And that is how the Beatniks were in the original one. Like just like Will Ferrell. He's like, "No, man, I don't have money. I just like your art, you know." But like yeah, you have him thrown in there. And I think Anthony Michael Hall is also is still the youngest person to ever be on the Saturday Night Live cast. And this might have been around, I don't know for sure. Don't quote me on, but I think this is around the time he was there, because I was wondering, like, Will Ferrell's there and it's 95. And like, wasn't he around on Saturday Night Live back then? Like 95-ish, or like, was it later?
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think, because he and Chris Kattan came out of SNL like a couple years later, because Chris went on to do stuff. Well, they did movies together for a little while.
Yeah.
Night at the Roxbury.
Well, yeah, but those were when they were in Saturday Night Live, because that's like
were they still there? Well, then
Lorne
that's late
Michaels.
90s. So they were still in there late 90s then.
Yeah. So I don't know, maybe it was like
Anthony Michael
beforehand.
Hall, I mean, he was already, because he was in Breakfast Club and he was on Weird Science.
Oh yeah, he was
and a lot of these
established.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting if he was in part of that group at his age at that point.
I don't think he lasted very long in Saturday Night Live, because I didn't know until I was watching a history of it that like he was in it. So there's a lot of people that I didn't know were in Saturday Night Live that got the boot. But
I know I read somewhere, I know this is off topic, but I read somewhere when it came, when they have a celebrity guest host on Saturday Night Live, I heard Steven Seagal was the worst guest host they've ever had on the show.
I'm sure it was. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
He seems like a real jerk.
Yeah, that's the rumor anyway.
That's why he's not around anymore, probably.
Yeah. Here's a little not trivia, but like here's something. When I was little, I might have said this before, but Anthony Michael Hall was the first actor I've ever heard of with my name. So like I locked in on him, like, oh, he has my name. Now I could tell him one day. And I had the chance at a convention, but I never talked to him. Like, how stupid would that be? At least now I could say, like, I saw The Death Artist recently, and it'd be something. I'm sure he doesn't really hear about that much, you know. Probably
No,
all
probably doesn't.
Breakfast Club.
Yeah, that's where I'd be.
But yeah,
So Dead Cat is a hit, and it sits in the back of the cafe, and people are fawning over it. And then the owner, who finds out that people are very much interested in it, like want to pay money for it. So now all of a sudden he wants to become the agent for Walter.
yeah,
We get introduced to Mayo, Leah, who is now kind of like hitting on Walter as if he's the new hot man on the project. And so she gives him a necklace that has heroin in it. This draws the attention of our first detective, and he ends up following Walter home to the point that now he's going to kind of interrogate him or talk to him about it. Walter doesn't handle things very well.
No.
Ends up killing the cop, which brings us to Murdered Man. This is our new sculpture, Murdered Man.
Another original piece.
Yes. And so again, we're getting like, people fawning, thinking Walter's the biggest thing since sliced bread. We see changes in Walter in terms of how he presents himself. He's like cooler now. He's like, yeah, I've made it. I'm in the big leagues.
Yep.
So this kind of goes on for a while, like until the owner actually starts to realize that the things that Walter is bringing are actually dead, like real life critters. Like he's already paranoid about the man. Like he's like, oh shit.
Well, he did with the cat. Remember, he was looking at. He was on the phone with somebody that wanted to buy it,
And it broke off the paw or something.
Yeah, he sees that there's hair, so he's like, "There's a real cat under here." And then when he brings Murdered Man, he's like, "Oh my god, he really killed somebody." And then he was gonna like call the cops, and then somebody came up to him and offered him like all this money, $5,000, which was the original writer of Bucket of Blood and Little Shop of Horrors and all that.
Nice.
What's his name?
Is it
Let me look. Oh, it's was it Charles Griffith?
Broderick? Well, Griffith's the author. Is that who it was?
I can't remember.
Oh no. Griffith is. I think Griffith is the director of the first. No, that's Corman. So it had to be the author.
Yes.
I'm sure it's right. It's here. I can't. I had it in my brain and I forgot.
Well, I got it, but I think he is an author. I don't think he's the director because Corman directed the first one.
Yeah,
he's a screenwriter. So
yeah, this guy he was like he's responsible for Bucket of Blood and the original and all that. But like they had a little cameo in here. I wish Dick Miller had a cameo in here, but he didn't. I was like waiting for it, but he was alive then. He's really old, but like he could have like been just some guy sitting in the booth or like told him like gave Walter a hard time or something.
You get a look like Marvel with Stan Lee. They always found like a tiny little cameo. He was in it for maybe 5 seconds, a minute. They could have easily done something like that, the original star.
I met Dick Miller. He was one of the first people that I ever met at a convention, and he was very, very nice. I got the in the other one, when Walter thinks he's all cool, he has like a beret on, and he is smoking like a long like stem cigarette, and he's like, the what do you call it, scarf and everything, and he comes in all hot shit, and I got that as a picture for him to sign, and that I was gonna send you the picture of us, but like I honestly don't know where it is. I think it's on my Instagram, but yeah, it was very nice to meet him, and he's unfortunately gone, but
I do like those two the other two artists that you were talking about with the roadkill stuff. They keep getting like jealous, and they're like, he's ripping us off.
Yeah, Cuffin' Link, which is the name of Rocky's turtles that he still has to this day.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
He's still alive.
Yep.
And he keeps them in his mansion, doesn't he?
Yep. But I don't honestly remember their names in the original. See, while I'm watching this, I'm thinking of the original.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they did the intro with him walking through with all that, and Maxwell doing his speech, was perfect. Like, it has the 90s feel of it, but yet at the same time, because they, that's the little change that they made. It's like they had to bring it into the 90s a little bit, but yet they still kind of like paid homage to like the, 19, like I'll say the 60s, and that's one thing that I really liked about it, because they didn't really change it too much. Everybody, I have to burp. Everybody was like how they were in the original one. There's like some extra people in here that I didn't expect to see, like David Cross. And he
Yeah.
was like the kiss ass, and
Mhm.
they just, but like, yeah, going back to the statue, like, yeah, he's like gonna call the cops, and then like he changes his mind. And Leonard in this one is a little bit more like, he's afraid at times and stuff, like, oh, I don't, you shouldn't be doing this, but yet he's trying to make money. I can't believe that he's we'll get to that part.
Well, he was trying to save the business, because he got all letters,
Final
all the
due.
bills,
Yeah.
final due. So when he got the $5,000, what made me laugh, and went, I'm gonna be your manager. I'm gonna help sell your stuff. He has your cut out of 5,000. You give him $25.
$25. And he's like, you believe this? $25 for something I made. It's like, I'm thinking, you scumbag. He doesn't know. He's just glad he sold something.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was about money. So
Yeah.
money trumps everything. In fact, we learn a little later that he even tries to go above that, but let's not jump too far ahead.
Yeah.
So Walter now has Dead Cat and Murder Man. So now Carla and everybody is saying, you need to step up your game. You gotta have like a nude piece of art. That's the new thing now. And of course, walks in Alice, who does nude modeling, and she's very uppity, and she didn't even know who Walter is at first. She's like, "Isn't he a busboy?"
Yeah.
And so that kind of offends Walter. They kind of have this little back and forth, and he blasts out of there. And then she leaves the cafe, and he follows her, and then she's kind of pissed off that he's following her around. But he's like, "Look, I'll do a nude. You can do a nude for me."
Yeah.
And so she's like, "Okay, you're gonna pay me." I think it was like $150 or something.
$50 an hour.
Yeah. So they get back to his apartment. She gets nude, of course. He starts trying to sculpt, and he's not even going to do it, because we already know where this is going. There's no way he's going to be able to do her. But she starts mocking him some more, like, "Oh, you're a virgin, aren't you, Walter?"
Yeah.
She just starts messing with him. And so he's like, "Yeah," he gets kind of pissy and says, "You're distracting me," and then grabs it looks like a scarf or something,
Yeah, it's a scarf.
ribbon of sorts. Yeah, so he ends up strangling her. We know where this is going. Ends up using her, and I forget what they called her, dead woman or something. I forget what it was.
No, it wasn't Dead Woman. It was
What the fuck was it?
what the fuck was it? Strangled Woman
Oh
or something
yeah,
like that? I honestly can't remember.
it must have
offhand.
been strangle woman, because I think Leonard's face was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah. Yeah.
So at this point, Leonard's like, he's going to try to have this open night thing where he can sell Walter's art, because he can get it out of his hands. Like, it can be just done. You get the money and then get rid of the shit, and not have anything, not be in his house, in his building. So he's going to have this open night for Walter to celebrate his art and get it sold, have a lot of high profile people there, but he's trying to keep other people from showing up, and notoriously those two guys, Cuff and Link, he doesn't want there,
Yeah.
but they show up anyway. And I don't know, do you want to pick up, Kevin, where we're at there with that?
So basically, I think he wants it to be his first and last ever art show, because I think in his mind he thinks, right, I'll just sell the art pieces, get the money, and run.
Yeah.
I think that's what's in his mind, because he knows what's underneath, like the art, the plaster. So in his mind, he's thinking, I'll do this one-off art show, the first and last. But he kind of pictures it to him as, it'll make you a legend. It'll make people want you. When you come back with more artwork, they'll come running.
Yeah.
And so he invites kind of the uppity uppers of like society who've got money to
Yeah.
this art show. And while at the art show, he wants to speak to Carla alone. And he basically expresses his love for her and wants to be with her, where she's only ever seen him as an artist and a friend. And he starts to then become slightly unhinged.
Mm-hmm.
And she rejects him. And when she goes into the art show, as people are walking around and examining the pieces, they start noticing things with the pieces. Now, they see the cat, and like you see, there's a bit missing, and they realise that there's a cat under there. And the cop that went missing, it's not his partner, but it's the new policeman, the new partner that was assigned to be with him, goes around looking around, and he
I think they see
undercover.
like a fingernail from
Yeah.
House or something.
Yeah, and even though it's a real fingernail, people still want to buy the pieces of art. They're just acting totally fucked up, and they're like, "Oh, that's like a masterpiece. How skillful and all this stuff." And the
Yeah.
policeman's like, "Get the fuck out of the way!" And he smashes the body, and then you see the body. Carla then obviously is freaked out, and he's totally now unhinged by this point, and he's like saying, "You know, I want to be with you. We need to be together." And she's like, "Just keep away from me, keep away." And then when it's all revealed that these pieces are now obviously dead animals, dead people, Walter panics and he disappears back to his back to the garage or wherever he's lived, the basement
Apartment.
bit of this person's house. But obviously the old woman sees him.
Yeah.
And the funny thing I found hilarious about this bit, the cop wants to know where he lives and he's chasing after him. You've got Cara that goes, you've got you've got them. But the funniest bit is the person who will love the art, the one like in the orange top. He's like, "We need to find the artist, we need to find the masterpiece."
Don't kill him. He's a genius. Yeah.
So they all go running to his apartment and they're banging on the door. The lady's like, "He's crazy, he's lost his mind," and all this. He's
All
down
because she banged into her.
there. Mhm.
Yeah.
Like he bumped into her hard, and she's like, "He's lost his mind." I
Yeah,
can't.
totally flipped on him.
Yeah.
And this is when obviously Carla, I think Maxwell, they all end up going, and then he sees like the bag of I guess it's wall plaster, the plaster mix from the
Plaster caster. Is
yeah.
that what
He
it's called?
starts mixing it up, and then as they finally break through the door, they see him there. He's hung himself from the beam of the apartment that he's in. But he's covered in, well, he hadn't done a really good fucking job, put it this way. It doesn't look like any of his artwork. And he's like covered, and it just looks like he's had a good time with me, to be fair.
I was gonna say he got a good money shot.
Yeah. All over and dripping down. And they're all looking at him, and they all kind of then feel sorry for him, and they're all like, they're kind of praising him in a way. They're like, in a sick way. They're like, the fine artist has made his final creation. What a way to go. They're like basically making him out like he's going to be a legend or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And
He
then
probably would have called it Hanging Man.
Yes.
Yes.
You think
And
about it
then-
too. Maybe I know obviously he wasn't going to have the plaster all over him because he's dying. He's going to die. But like, being that his sculptures are starting to get revealed, it's just kind of like part of that. You know what I mean? Like the fingers showing in that. So now everybody knows there's bodies under the plaster. In a way, he was making it more revealing in a way. And I know that's how I look at it too. Like it's like another, like, okay, everybody knows, not that he was thinking this is just in my head. Everybody knows that now that there's bodies under these. Now we're going to show that the body's half done, kind of like no surprise. I don't know. It's weird. Oh, look at that kitty. But yeah, that's what's his name. That's the writer.
So he was the creator of the original novel, wasn't he?
Yeah. And I don't think the girl on the cover is in the movie at all. It's just a generic person.
Yeah.
But
It's
there's one
probably
thing we all skipped though,
it's
was that there
probably
was another murder, and it was
the
at
head.
Yeah, the
after he cut the head, and then Leonard was reading in the paper like, man with missing head found in woodshed or alleyway or something like that. And then he comes up, he's like, what do you have in the box, Walter? And he brings it out, and it's the head.
He's
Which was a
basically
funny scene, because that's kind of like the original, because it's like that slow moving, like, can't you just like kick him out of the way or push him? Like, he's not that strong.
No,
No,
it's funny
no.
because even when Walter brings the box, Leonard's like, because he says, "Well, it's my next creation." Leonard's just like horror. He doesn't know what the fuck it's gonna be.
Yeah.
But then he's like, Leonard, or he's like, Walter, we need to talk about doing some other things outside of the statues.
Do some more abstract stuff.
Yeah.
Like, who are you to tell him what to say?
Oh yeah, yeah. Once Walter starts getting reputation, everyone's like, "Dude, just sit down and shut up." He is a masterpiece at this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an interesting film. First time viewing it. The ending of it was quite bizarre. I didn't think it would end the way it did. I had a funny feeling in my mind he was something like, I didn't think he would hang himself. But in my mind, I had this idea that because it was about like art, and I'm thinking of things like House of Wax, that he would have ended up like a waxwork or something, which in some ways he did. He did become his own like piece of art by the end. But the hanging bit took it out of it for me, if I'm honest. In the bit with the head, we did miss out the bit where he got the head, because obviously he was doing an art show. You only had 3 pieces, I believe. You had the cat, then he had Alice, then he had the cop, and then obviously that's just 3. He needed a 4th one, and you could see him getting more into the madness of getting obsessed to wanting to be this. Basically, it's about acceptance and then inclusion, and not to feel left out of groups, and wanting to be a part of a group and a part of a certain kind of social group. That's what this for me was about. And the more
it plays off of that, and then it also plays off of the fact that through all their pretentiousness, every one of them that were considered masters of art criticism and critiques, they were like willing to accept anything. If it was different enough, they would be like, "Oh, this is a masterpiece." And we often see that, like, even if in real life, if we go to an art museum or something, we'll see something. I'm like, how did anybody consider this art? It looks like ass. Like, I don't know what the fuck this is. But some people who are into art, they're like, no, you have to understand the contours, and then they get into all this shit. And I'm like, all right, whatever.
Yeah. I think you see what you want to see. I always take it the quote from Monty Python, where he says, like, I might not know much about art, but I know what I like. That's kind of how I am. I don't know shit about it. If I like it, I like it. I don't notice how the paint is thinner here and thicker here. That represents, and like, no, I don't. That's not how I got it. I just think that looks cool. That's how I am. Like, I'm more of a Jackson Pollock painter. I can't draw for shit. So if I just, when I would do paintings like that, it would just be like if I thought it looked right.
That's why, like, today, if Bob Ross still lived, I'd be like, Bob, I don't even know how you're doing this. I just want the finished product because you're amazing, but I don't need to know the whole process of this, because he sits there and he says, yeah, we're just going to do this. And he take a little bit of this. I'm like, I don't care about all that. Just give me the product. Let me see it.
He was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not really a great like drawer or artist, but I think I'm better as a creative writer. That's how I would express myself. If I was some sort of like artist, I would be a creative writer.
I guess I would be more of a musician.
Like Anubis knows, well before I did the Entertainment Headquarters YouTube channel, I tested the waters to see if people would be interested in what I had to say, and I did a review page just called Kevin Lambert Entertainment Reviews. And Anubis used to read a lot of my reviews, and it was through that I was building the confidence to finally go, right, I'm going to take the leap and make a channel.
Yeah.
And he also gave me the encouragement alongside the rest of the group that we have that pushed me forward to make this happen.
It's working
All right.
out.
Well, Kevin, 1 out of 10, what do you rate this film?
For me, it's my first time viewing. It was interesting, but some of it I got it, and some of it I didn't get. It was a bit like, I kind of like you said, with the people and how they go on, the arseness, and talking about this and that. I just found it weird as fuck. But overall, I liked what the plot was about, and I kind of, in my mind, like you said, you see what you see and you take it for what you take it for. For me, it was about a person who had loads of social issues and was just trying to fit into a certain group of people to find, a way in, and he did it, but then it became so much of an obsession that it was his downfall. And because that's how I've taken it, I think that's a strong message. So first time viewing, I think I'm going to give it 6 out of 10 because I think it deserves quite a high rating.
Okay. Tony.
Well, I have a lot to say about the movie because we kind of went through it real fast, but because the original is one of my favorites. I too, I didn't know what I was going to watch when I watched the original. I think too, if you see the original and watch this, or if now that you saw this, you go back and watch the original, you could see how close they were to being an actual remake. I like the twerks they made. I like the coffee shop vibe of the 90s. But everybody still seemed kind of like they were stuck in the 60s in a way. This is before vape too, so everybody's smoking cigarettes in there. One thing that's different too, I don't know where did you watch this? On
Tubi.
Tubi?
Probably.
Was there nudity in it?
Yeah, I saw
Okay.
Alice's tits.
Yeah, and then the other girl
playing the
that was on
violin.
stage. Yeah, okay. That's not in the original. Like Alice isn't nude. I think she might get into I think she might be nude at a certain point, but you don't see it.
Well, that's probably another way you can tell this is a 90s film because
Yeah.
the 90s weren't afraid to show a bit of titty.
No, that's one thing they were like. I guess the original was missing was the nudity, and I don't think it was. I didn't mind it, the girl on the stage, she's pretty hot. Was it needed? No, I don't think so. But I'm not going to complain. And Alice seeing Darcy DeMoss nude, I'm not going to complain either. She played a very close role to the original Alice. Like she's such a bitch. Anthony Michael Hall, I think, did an excellent job. I think Dick Miller's Walter Paisley, how he starts to get really mad, and I think Alice is like the turning point for him because he's like, I'm not taking anybody's shit anymore. Like before, he kind of didn't mean to kill the cop. He just kind of was self-defense because he's he wanted to take him in and for the drug. Walter didn't even know what it was. He's like, oh, wasn't that nice of Maolia to give me that expensive heroin? He doesn't even know what it is. And
well, if you think about it,
panicked.
He implicated Manolia in that moment. So, if he got took to the cop didn't die, he would have took himself to the police station, but he would have also, because he's mentioned Manolia, she would have probably been brought in as well.
Right. But he just panicked, and that's how that happened. And then after that, people started getting interested in his stuff, and so that's why he started doing that. And he just went down a dark path, and it's even to the point where Carla said, "I'll pose for you for free," and he's like, "No, I could never do that to you." And then later on, he's like, "I want you to pose for me." When she rejected him. Which that's one thing I do not like in this one is Carla has an accent, and all I hear the whole time is Dexter's Laboratory. Oh no! Do not put me in there. I just couldn't stand her voice, but I I think she showed out that she liked him more in this one than the original, and that was nice. The owner in the original was, when he was panicking, he had like a weird, like a weirder face on, which worked more. I think the original, the guy liked him more. In this one, he was more of a scumbag, and the guy who played Leonard, Sam Lloyd, rest in peace. I've only ever seen him in Scrubs. If you see him in Scrubs, he's a really big pushover. Like, and in this, he was like a mean, tough guy. I was like, wow, I never saw this before. But yeah, all in all, I think they did an excellent job as a remake. Like, I was very pleasantly surprised, and the little tweaks that they did, I did not mind at all. The only one thing I can complain about, I don't like, I thought it was kind of like not needed, was at the very end where it's like they tell you what everybody happened afterwards. Like, Leonard burnt down the place and collected the insurance money, and then
when it was showing you basically what happened to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like that. They didn't do that in the original, and I didn't like. We don't need to know that. We don't. It's like just like I think it's just like a '90s thing, because back then it was like kind of a thing that everybody did.
It's probably just them trying to be a little bit more comedic about like what happened to everybody after the fact.
Yeah. But I think that they don't need that. But other than that, I thought this movie was fantastic, to be honest. And I would probably give it, I was gonna say 9, but I think I'll say 8 out of 10. Yeah, I really, really liked it, and I think for a remake, this is one of the best ones I've ever seen. Just saying.
It's fair. I'm gonna split right down the middle. It's a 7 out of 10 for me. But I would give the original an 8, because I think that this doesn't do enough to make itself different from the original. That's one of my biggest gripes. It just plays too close to the hip for me, but it's not bad. It's not horrible.
Well, hips don't lie.
Like, huh?
The hips don't lie.
Hips don't lie. But yeah, no, it's a fine remake. It's not horrible by any means. I've seen worse.
Yeah.
I know Kevin has too, most recently with anyway.
Did that happen?
Did that happen? Yeah.
Well, if you haven't checked it out, check out my review and see my rating.
Of what?
For The Crow remake.
Oh.
Like, I did a double review. It was called the Bill Skarsgård special, because I wanted to defend Bill Skarsgård is an actor, because I felt like a lot of people put the blame of The Crow on him for his performance, but I don't blame him one iota. I believe the blame should fall completely on the studio and the director and what they did. And I did a comparison where he is a great actor and he had a great role, and it was a lot of fun, which was Boy Kills World. Yeah. And then I did The Crow after it. 2 completely different films. One is like a bit of like a Kick-Ass type movie, if you know the Kick-Ass movies, and the other one is just
Tony and I did a trailer reaction a while back on that one.
I just watched it the other day, to be honest. So
cool.
Yeah.
Boy Kills World.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a fucking great film.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I liked it.
It was a lot more
Tony, did you say you had not seen Black Christmas?
I haven't.
That's what we're doing next week.
Which one?
The first one.
Okay.
I would do the second one because that's my favorite, but I think it's better if you saw the actual original first. So
I'll watch both.
Okay,
Unlike you guys. If you think about it,
I watched
you
both.
could have watched them back to back
2 weeks ago.
It would have been less time than Brotherhood of the Wolf.
What's that?
If you watched this Death Artist and then Bucket of Blood, they weren't even 2.5 hours. It was like less than that.
Yeah, but they're not even a quarter good as Brotherhood.
Well, they're not this. Yeah, but I'm saying to compare them. If there was a remake of Brotherhood,
I think you were trying to like put a diss on me. It just failed badly.
Oh no, not just you, Kevin too.
Don't start with me. I'm gonna dishing the fucking
What are you gonna do?
Talking shit.
What are you gonna do?
talking shit.
Huh? You're gonna
Talking
swim
shit.
all the way over here and kick my ass?
Well, I do like swimming.
He's gonna do
If
fucking
you
Jack
swam
Sparrow
all
around
the
a
way
couple
over
of
here,
turtles.
I'll let you kick my ass.
You would shit your pants if by Sunday there was a knock at your door and it was me with a baseball bat. You're like, oh shit. You were serious.
You'd pass out and you'd show up and go, can I just like lay down for a little bit? I'm like, all right.
Tony's like, yeah, lay down. I've got a couple of gremlins that I raised that are going to terrorize you.
Yeah.
Well, Anubis has seen me in action. I've been awake nearly 24 hours in G-Fest.
Yeah.
So,
At least
it's
that's
pretty
fun
crazy.
though to be up that long there, you know.
do not
Oh, we had a
underestimate
blast.
the power of this ginger bastard.
So, Kevin, what do you have coming up on your channel? Let people know what you've got in the works.
Right, so obviously coming up with us gentlemen next week, we will be doing the Warlock franchise discussion on the Into the Darkness segment. I'll also be doing next week the Retro Classic Movie Show segment, which will be Sleepy Hollow. Then after that, it's all about heading to Romania. I'll be going to Romania the first week in October and, you know, taking in the sights, seeing a lot of, you know, the history there. And obviously the big thing for me is going to Bran Castle, which is the birthplace of Vlad the Impaler, which inspired Bram Stoker's Dracula as well. A lot of, you know, we'll have the subspecies, you know, series which was based around there, which is, of course, going to be the next Into the Darkness franchise discussion. And throughout the month of October, because we're all into Halloween, I'm bringing you the Taste of Blood, the vampire movie specials, where we'll be reviewing a handful of vampire movies. And just probably an hour before joining you, gentlemen, I did release my Beetlejuice review, which is on the channel right now.
Very nice. Tony, anything you got coming up, sir? Any unboxings or anything else you're doing on it? How about Boy Kills World review? Let's go there.
I don't want to talk about it. It's already kind of like out of my head. I've watched like 10 movies since that. So I don't know. I said about I might want to do reviews of like Lover's Lane or something like from Arrow and stuff like that, but I maybe we'll see. I'm kind of iffy on reviews, but unboxings. I don't really know if anything's coming in like soon. In October, I know like I'm supposed to get stuff from Umbrella, but like nothing except for, you know, this next week is really going on.
Do you pay like just subscriptions for when that shit happens? Like
for what,
just
Umbrella?
Like yeah.
No, I just bought from them.
Oh, okay.
Like you have to spend like so much money before you get free shipping, but like the good thing is you buy one or two things, you get free shipping because it's like
It's like $50 a piece.
So it's coming from Australia, I guess, unless they have something little hub in America, but like, you know,
Well,
I got some good stuff coming.
I saw because I bought off Vinegar Syndrome, because obviously I do a lot of kaiju stuff on the channel.
Yeah.
So Vinegar, you probably got this, Tony. I don't know if you would have got this in your subscription, but the Vinegar Syndrome Gorgo box.
Yeah, I did have that.
Yeah, so I seen you got the Reptilicus one.
Yeah.
And I was going to order that myself, but it said that you've got the 4K version and then you've got the Blu-ray version.
Yeah.
So
I think it's just in there with it.
Yeah, so I might try and purchase the Reptilicus one and try and do a review of that on my channel.
Yeah.
But my 4K player, which I've only had probably about a year, it's been a bit iffy. Like when I put some like I got the Monsterverse 4K box set. I've got Aliens. I want to order because they're more expensive. I'll just order maybe one or two every few months.
Yeah.
But I've noticed sometimes when I'm playing with my 4K, it's skipping. And I thought it might have been on the discs. It's definitely not the discs. And I just assume, I think there must be an issue with the 4K player, so I'm going to send an email off because I've still got it insured and try and see what I can sort out. But until I get it sorted out, I'm not prepared to buy any more 4Ks. There's no point buying 4Ks if I can't play them.
I don't really buy a lot of 4Ks unless it's cheap and or it's coming to me like from Vinegar Syndrome.
Well, like I love the Lord of the Rings. I've got the Lord of the Rings and everything. I've got them in DVD. I've got them in Blu-ray, and I've got them in 4K. If they bring them out in something else, I can buy them in that because I just love those movies. The same with any kaiju movie. I try to collect them as best I can.
Well, anyway, on my channel tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, although it won't be live, but I'll be doing a review for Exuma on Shudder right now, and I'm doing that with special guest Omni, so that's gonna be a lot of fun. Sit there and talk about that film. But outside of that, not a whole lot going on because we're gonna be painting the house and hopefully preparing to move in a couple months. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm slowing down on content a little bit, at least on my end. I'll just be doing a collaboration. Yeah, I know, right? I always say that, but I'm still putting out shit. Yeah.
Well, well, all the shit I've got scheduled that I've mentioned, that's all I literally can fit in unless something happens and I can fit in a little review here and there because obviously work's picking up, heading into winter time. And obviously I'm got everything, any other spare time away from here, I'm prepping for the holiday, the vacation away. But once I come back from Romania, I'm hoping to and get through October. Hopefully we can do a lot more together and plan a lot more.
Oh, yeah. And which reminds me, please go subscribe to Mr. Tony the Dead. Like and subscribe his channel. Same with Kevin Lambert, the Entertainment Headquarters. And we will see you next time here on the Ghouls of Midnight Metal Time Radio podcast. Thank you two gentlemen for joining me. We'll see you next time. Enjoy the rest of your evening, folks, and keep it metal.